1920s and 30s and the 40s. But then they wanted to take more people out, so they got the bigger boat. As I mentioned, in 1982, they put this on the lake here, and we can carry 65 people. You guys have got a really nice day here on the lake because there's nobody else on the lake.
You have a speaker up there?
I'm sorry?
You have a speaker?
My microphone's not working. That's one of the things why we're only doing one tour today. So yes, and my voice will be gone real quick. But I will. No, I'm glad you did. And if you want to complain about it, I would be happy that you complain about it, because that's the only way things will get fixed. If nobody complains, nobody knows it's a problem. All right. Why Lake Arrowhead? Well, if you're down on the 210 freeway, starting to come up Highway 18, if you're down at the bottom, you look to the right-hand side, you notice on the mountainside there is a 1,500 foot tall natural rock formation in the shape of an arrowhead. And that arrowhead points down to a springs at the bottom of that arrowhead called the Arrowhead Springs. We're not doing it with leaves up here. That's where your bottled water comes from that you buy at the store. It doesn't come from the lake up here. Only way you're getting Arrowhead water out of the lake is if you're one of the 7,000 residents up here that do actually get lake water out of the lake. Now my sister's one of those, because we're doing a slow, loud tour today. She likes to brag when her friends come up, and yes, when they must, it's with Arrowhead they flush. You can figure that out, based on a lot of reach that. Alright, now we start the tour here. We're on the Village Bay. We just left the village, what we are called the New Village, original village 1920s. Over here we see the green grass, that is the Village Cove, the second house from the end. The dark gray one was actually painted by one of the captains for Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. Now you're going to hear his name several times on here, but that's the first time you're going to hear it. Now we're going to look over here, we see all these docks and slips. No empty beach. Over 2,500 docks and slips on the lake. But there's about 3,000 boats that want to use the lake at any given time, so that creates a bit of a parking problem up here. So dock space really goes for a premium. I shop as long as I can, folks, we'll see how this goes. I actually saw an ad in the local paper here, 4th of July weekend, that said dock space close to the village. They're talking about this one right here, $1.5 million.
Expensive.
Comes with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a parking space. So it does go with the townhome above it, but the problem was with the ad, the dock space is more important than the townhouse. Now these townhouses were built in the 1980s. That's when they first started building on the lake here with the used construction, the first townhouses on the lake. Where you see the tree here right at the end, that house on the end there, that was owned by Axl Rose, ACDC Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose, welcome to the jungle fame, Axl Rose. He bought it in the 1980s for $40,000.
How much the price now?
Now it goes for $1.5 million. It comes with a dock. So yeah, $1.5 million for those. Now you can get a couple of them a little cheaper. You can have the right to put a boat on the lake and not have to live right on the lake shore side. You can be 2 or 3 streets above this lake and still have the rights to be able to put a boat on the lake if you pay the extra fee. So there's 3 levels. One, you get to walk around the lake. One, you get to use the beach. One, you get to put the boat on the lake. Now, I think it's about $1,000 a year to be able to put a boat on the lake. All right, now I'm going to jump back in history a little bit further now. I'm going to go back to 1850. That's when California became a state. They put a new buoy out there for me. I have to miss it. It's probably the only thing on the lake and I'll hit it, right? This one right here in front of me. That was just for the sailing tournament. I'll tell you about that a little bit later. 1850, we become a state. 1851, the Mormon Church out of Salt Lake City buys Rancho San Bernardino. The fort they're going to build is going to be Fort San Bernardino. So Rancho San Bernardino, because Fort San Bernardino is the largest wooden fort west of the Mississippi. To build that fort, to get all those logs, they have to come up here to Little Bear Valley. Every place you see water right now is Little Bear Valley that was filled with trees. Those Mormons build the road up here, the Mormon Road, Highway 18, take all the trees out of Little Bear Valley. 60% of those trees actually got used for orange industry, the orange crates and the like and such like that. Well, in 1857, the Mormon Church called all the Mormons back to Salt Lake City to fight the Mormon War. You guys hear about it? Yeah, it wasn't really much of a war. The Mormons thought they were going to take it all the way to the coast. Utah was going to have a cold stone, but things changed, right? So anyway, about 2/3 of the population just moved from San Bernardino. We became basically a ghost town down there. Then all of a sudden, oranges came into Southern California, 1873 or so, and then we take back off again. The orange industry, population, everything comes out here because they're sending those orange crates all over the world. They got these beautiful pictures of Southern California on the side, so everybody comes out here to Southern California because it is a great place to be. All right, so all the way back there in that bay, you see the beach back there? The smaller trees on the beach? Those are apple trees, the small ones. They're about 15 to 20 foot tall, so they look a lot smaller than they are. They were planted in the 1890s when we took all the trees out of Little Bear Valley. They put in the apple orchards. Apple orchards didn't work out so well. They came all the way out to where we are in the boat right now today. Those are the last of the remnants of the apple orchard. 125 years old, are still producing apples today.
Ooh.
Those apples are crab apple, not like the fancy apples you can get at Whole Foods. It's going to be a long tour, Chris.
We appreciate it.
But those apples are a necessity for the lumberjacks to make their apple jack. Illegal whiskey, white lightning. So the village code back then, that was known as Bourbon Gulch. And the flat ground at the Bank of America, that was known as Whiskey Flats back in those days. A little better names back in those days. Nowadays, we call that bay back there Orchard Bay because we're not very good.
Orchard Bay.
Almost everybody guesses Apple Bay when they say that, but quarantine. Now the locals like to call it Bat Bay because so many bats come out feeding right flying around the village. We tell all the locals, all the tourists, that those are swallows. Because we have both the swallows you can see and the bats. And so if you're on the village tonight about dusk or so, you'll see them both out there. They're walking on the trail right there. Now this is the point that I always point out, Doris Day's home right here. Now the reason I point out Doris Day's home right here is you can't see Doris Day's home right here because of all the trees. The philosophy from the lake from the 1920s on, if you're on the lake, you should look around and only see trees. You shouldn't see any of the homes. All the trees are owned by the Arrowhead Lake Association. You cut one down, it can cost you as much as $50,000 if you do it illegally, $20,000 if you do it legally. But if a tree gets the bark beetle, which kills the tree, turns it into firewood, we get that firewood, that tree out of our forest as quickly as possible. And so we look where the maroon awning is right here. Those smaller, younger trees you see right there, they're replacing a bark beetle tree. And that creates a bit of an opening as we go by. You'll be able to look backwards and see Doris Day's house. Now, Doris Day was full-time on the lake up here from the 1940s on, over 600 songs, just passed on about 2 years ago. She didn't mind us pointing out her house. You see the balcony right there between the trees. Because nobody's going to harass Doris Day, right? You just don't do that. Most of the current stars up here have their lawyers send us letters saying, do not point out my client's home. Any lawyers on board today? Good, nobody ever admits it. The tan house right there, the multicolored slate tile roof, that's Sammy Hagar's house from Van Halen. I Can't Drive 55.
Whoa.
Jumping stuff like that. Now I said current stars, so it's all right to show off his place, right? No bad joke, didn't go around very well. Now Sammy's house is actually for sale. That's why you pointed out for him. Hope you get the binder screen. $3.5 million. Now I heard that it just sold this last month. I'm not too sure on that. It's not official yet. But I will tell you about 3 years ago it was going for $5 million. Down to $3.5 million. Now what the stars will do up here, they'll buy a house, put their name on it, leave some memorabilia behind, sell the house for a little extra price because it is Sammy's house. He'll move next door and do the same thing again 3 years later, avoiding the property taxes. That happens up here quite a bit. That's why I mentioned Brian Wilson. We're going to mention his name 3 times on this. So it's for sale. It may have been sold. Sammy Hagar's house, the tan one. The white one right here with the copper tops, that huge monstrosity, it's been under construction for about the last 5 years. Just started to move into it in the last several months or so. Famous Hollywood lawyer. Can't tell you his name, but I can tell you that the lawyer who lives behind him is suing him because he can't see the lake. That little brown 2-story cabin, that's what used to sit on the piece of property where that new white thing is, right? And even that's a 2-story cabin, right? And that was Bob's house. Bob's beach right there. He used to clean the beach for all the kids, but there's no beach anymore because they parked all the boats there. Is that a Marine Corps flag? I see the United States one. I picked up that briefly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, double dog, so I have to kind of pay attention to this. Now in to point out this White House here with the black shutters. I'm going to point that one out for two different reasons. Your tour is going to take you a little longer today, folks, because the only way I can shut over the engine is maybe the engine's going slow, so you're going to take maybe a 3-hour tour.
That'd be good.
That's Gilligan's Island, folks.
Yeah.
All right, now I point this out two different reasons. One of all those stairs coming on down to the dock, there's over 175 stairs. You get down to the boat, you've forgotten the keys, it's 175 stairs back up. The locals, we call that the Olympian Stairmaster Workout. Now, why do we call it the Olympian Stairmaster Workout? The Olympian lived there. Her name was Michelle Kwan. 2-time U.S. Olympic figure skating star, 5 times world champion, 9 times U.S. champion. Moves up here at the age of 13 with her younger sister to train underneath the famous coach back here at the village. Graduates from the local high school up here, her and her younger sister. Still involved with the lake. But like with many of the people who are up here, 50% of the people are part-time. 50% of the people are full-time. But 50% of the people are part-timers, their second or third or fourth home up here. So you'll see a lot of that. Most of the 50% that are full-time are like me, retired. Because we're not driving back and forth down the hill and stuff like that. Now I'm going to point to this White House with the black shutters. Yeah, it seems to be a theme. White House, black shutters. It's got the flag. It's got the oars over the roof. It's one of the few remaining 1920s homes on this side of the lake. Now you can see it's got the old style, the cottage style. It's a 2-story place. That's a good sized place. But now we have these big mansions up here, and they don't have any styles. Because in 2003, the Cedar Glen fire, or the old fire, took out over 1,000 residents over here. 6 people lost their lives. And so many of these homes have been rebuilt since that fire. Now, most of the lake has rules, regulations, and restrictions. You have to build to a Normandy or Swiss style. This is Cedar Glen. Did I just hit a buoy?
Yeah.
Quit talking, folks. Pay attention where you're going. They put out 2 new buoy slopes. But anyway, where was I? Cedar Glen fire takes out, so they rebuilt them since then. They don't have to. Now that gray one I always point out, the real ugly monstrosity, it's actually supposed to look like a tower over there, so we give it a little bit. All right, we are on a lake here. There are some buoys. Watch out, we don't want to run over them. I've never done that, not on purpose.
Is the water level natural lake, or did they increase it with a reservoir or anything, or is it all?
No, yes, and I'll answer that as we go around. And if I don't, ask me again when we get back to the end so I can make sure I get it back. That is the Lake Arrowhead Police right there. See them as they drive on the lake? Yes, I do see right. All right, we're on a lake. How'd that happen? We tried putting in those apple orchards. They didn't work out so well with the elevation. Apples are working out pretty good down in Apple Valley. If we go straight up the lake right here, we'd be down in Apple Valley. Not far this way today. Now, 3 guys from Chicago looked at this barren valley and they said, let's make some money quick, get rich quick. You know, that's what got right. Let's fill up this barren valley with water, sell all this water to those thirsty oranges down there and find something to cover them for a season. So to do that, they have to build the dam. And this is the dam right up here in front of us where you see the truck full of caution right now. I always get out of the way, look back first because I look at a big space and they're going, damn, that's the dam.
What street is that?
I've seen dams before. It's usually big cement thing with water overflowing on top. That would be the Hoover Dam. That would be World War II. This is before World War I. This is the largest earthen dam in the world when it's completed in the early 1900s. They started about 1892. They finished up about 1920. So stops and starts along the way. World War II, some things like that. World War I, things like that. Largest earthen dam. It does have a cement or concrete core that goes down the center of it like a block wall in the backyard. It is 185 feet wide. Basically the trees here, you can see the dam top right there, and then when it goes back up over there, those are the trees. 200 feet straight down. 1,100 feet wide at the base. Now that's a heck of a lot of dirt. That's over 3 football fields. So to move all the dirt up against that concrete wall, they use the locomotives for hauling the trees up out of the valley to the coastal side. Those 4 locomotives brought all the dirt up here against the desert side. Those 4 locomotives of the railroad tracks are still underneath the lake today. We're on the railroad tracks right now. So it's not because of land. Now there's an argument. that you guys get the private tour today. There's an argument if there's only one down there or four down there. We know that there's one down there, and we also think that one of them is actually in the museum in Rio. So